Hello Star Trek fans, and welcome back to the channel and another video for Star Trek Fleet Commander. And in today's video we're going to take a look at 5 simple in-game features Scopley could change or improve to help them stop losing so many low to mid-level players. So let's get into it. So number 1 is missions. Now some of the missions in game are perfectly balanced and there's nothing wrong with them. For example, these combat trainings increase proportionately with your level and your strength, and you have full control over how much you upgrade or don't your ship, over how you can do these, which is good. But what I want to look at is a couple of prime examples of missions that are just entirely broken. So this one here, Home Soil. You can pick this up in a fairly low level system. I think you can get there as early as about level 10 in a Tala. You have to run around doing a fairly innocuous bunch of tasks that are easy to complete even at very low level. Again, I'm talking 10, 11. But the final part of the mission, so once you've done these things, once you've invested the time into it, if you look here, got to return to Sol, which is a Warp 40 system, which as a free-to-play player you're talking at least level 26 to 28 before you can get there. How the hell can you have a mission that you can pick up at level 11 but you cannot complete until you're at least level 26, 27? It's a bit ridiculous and it needs to be looked at. The next type of mission we need to look at is, let's find out where it is. Not that. I think it's near the top. This one here. So again, you can pick this up relatively early, although it's not nearly as easy as the Home Soil one. So your first task is to go to this system, really easy. Next task is defeat the Andorian Scout. So, sorry, Arcanorian Scout, however the hell you want to pronounce that. This ship here was an interceptor, and its strength was, by if memory serves, about 97,000 battle strength. It was an interceptor. So, depending on when you pick this mission up, it's achievable at the level on which you can acquire it. And bearing in mind that this scout, this interceptor, was 97,000 battle strength, you'd think the next segment here, defeat the Arcanoan warship, would be a bit higher, within the same realms of possibility. Turns out 200,000, more than double the strength of the previous ship. That's utterly ridiculous. It's too much and it needs to be scaled back to proportionately somewhere around the first segment. Number 2, and this one may be quite controversial, it could spur some comments, but it's the initial hit from a base raid. So just to be clear from the outset, I'm not talking about nerfing base raiding. Base raiding works the way it works. I have no problem with it and I think it should continue. What I'm talking about is the resources taken from the initial hit on a base. So here's what I'm talking about. This is a screenshot of a base hit that happened to me about 2 weeks ago when I was level 20. As you can see, I've lost 476,000 parsteel, nearly 56,000 tritanium and 3,620 dilithium. And just remember, this is not my base getting raided, this is my shield getting cracked for the first time. Now thankfully I play the game all the time, so this is not as devastating as it could be, but for a casual player who plays maybe 2 or 3 times a week for a couple of hours, this could be literally everything that they have. And this could very well be the decision that causes them to quit the game. Now to reinforce this, I actually asked around a few high level players who have horizons and are able to raid relatively low level players, and this is what one of them said. I have of course hidden their identity just so they don't get any flack. Honestly, I should feel bad, but the amount of players I've hit with the horizon who have messaged me saying they may as well quit the game is now astonishing. Now, as a games developer, If you have one singular item that can cause a player to quit, bearing in mind that you're going to lose in that active player that fuels a community and a potential paying customer, you really need to look whether or not that feature is justified in game, is it balanced in game, and is it necessary in game. Now there are of course several quite simple solutions that Scopley could add to avoid this. They could have a very simple scaling system in relation to the initial hit only, whereby if you have a level 28 player hitting a level 20 player, it only takes 10% of the possible resources, increasing proportionately until they get to the same level where it has a 100% raid potential. Alternatively, Scopley could just add a fixed amount from the initial hit. So when you crack the shield for the first time, it takes, let's say, 5,000 of each resource, well, maybe less for dilithium. And that way, the initial hit is not devastating. Players have the opportunity to log into the game to defend themselves, and if they choose to ignore the warnings, so the notifications, and any other external sources, then it's their problem if their base gets raided and they face the consequences of that. Number 3, simple tweaks to the mining system that can make mining easier and less combative. So as we all know, in this game, mining can be the source of all sorts of controversy and all sorts of wars. It's been covered heavily by my fellow content creators recently. But they've talked about all the havoc it causes, but not necessarily what they can do about it. And I came up with a fairly simple solution to a common problem. So most servers have a mining agreement or rules of engagement agreement, whatever they are called, they all have roughly the same principle, which are if you are over your protected cargo limit, you are fair game to be destroyed. If you are sat on a zero mine, you are okay to be destroyed. And typically speaking, people are encouraged to not hit players off mining nodes if they are under capacity. And here is a thing. How do you know when you're over capacity or under capacity? Now, many people are going to say, oh, well, you should know what your ships are. But I have 3 envoys, and I cannot remember exactly what my protected cargo capacity is on every single envoy with every single crew combination that could possibly have. So here we can see, you can quite clearly check by going to the details of your ship, and we can see the protected cargo capacity on this is 8,700. Simple enough, what are you complaining about? So let's just put this ship out to mine. Of course, there won't be any nodes available for me today because I'm trying to shoot video, and everyone's been annoying. Come on, let's just clear these out of the way. Come on. Here we go. Right, so here we go. Here's a scene that we've all seen a million times before. Our ship is now mining. But the problem is, now our ship is mining, we no longer have access to view the ship details to see what our protected cargo capacity is. So let's just pretend you're not some type of Rain Man who can remember millions of numbers all the time. You can't remember exactly which crew you've got exactly where. How do you know when you're over cap? And I have been hit over cap when I've been one solitary unit of par steel over cap. You get hit, you instantly get a direct message that says, haha, you were over cap, I've destroyed you for 1 unit of par steel. So what I propose to do, or Scopley could easily do, is if we look at this par steel counter, this could be green if you are under your capacity. It could go amber when you're within 90% of your protected cargo capacity. And finally, it could go red once you're over capacity. Alternatively, to the far left, as highlighted here, this bar, again, could be green, amber, red, or maybe even just green and red, but something to indicate that your ship is now over capacity. Now, that won't stop people hitting you if they're watching you, waiting for you to go 1 unit over cap so they can steal your mine, but it will give you more information to remind you that your ships are over cap, they can be hit, and you might want to bring them home. It's a simple solution that may resolve many issues. Number 4 is communication tools with members of my alliance. So before anyone says it, we do of course have the alliance tab, and we can simply type messages there, and of course there is the more direct message. But let's say, for example, I want this node here after my alliance member. There is nothing in here that allows me to chat to this member of my alliance. I would need to either find an empty ship he has in open space, or I would need to know where his base is, or alternatively I could do it the really long way by going to the alliance, scrolling through here, and then choosing a chat option. But that is a bit of a ball ache for what should be a fairly simple click on him, talk to him type of scenario. It's too complicated, and it's a really easy fix. Another thing is, for example, we cannot see alliance members' cargo status. Now, I kind of get why they're doing that. They probably don't want people joining an alliance just so they can scout out other people's bases, pass on information, and other nefarious acts like that. But let's just say that Barton had been raided. We want to know, is it worth us sacrificing hundreds of thousands hundreds of thousands of units of resource to protect this base if it's already been wiped? So the ability for alliance members to see what cargo alliance members have would be excellent, because it would make us, or it would give us the option to make better choices. Another thing that they could add is some type of button here, perhaps, like a red alert button. So if we see that they're going to be hit, so let's say, for example, I'm cruising around here doing some mining, I see an enemy pull up here, and this guy's going to get raided, I could smash this red alert button here that sends a message to this alliance member saying something really bad's about to happen. You should either log in if you're not logged in already, or if you're off doing other things, you should pay attention to your base because something really bad is about to happen. Number 5, customer support. Now this is a little bit off topic in comparison to the previous things we've talked about, but I think it's an important one to look at nonetheless. And I think that Scopley could do a better job of outlining what type of support they have and who can do what. Between 2012 and 2017, I worked for an online games company called Big Point Games, working on Battlestar Galactica Online. And I used to cover the forum moderation, the in-game chat moderation, and I also used to answer support tickets. Now, the reason I thought that was important to share is because previous to those dates, if you'd have asked me about mailing a company for support, I would have thought that it would have gone to a member of staff of that company. In this instance, it would be Scopley. They would work in an office. They may or may not wear a Scopley uniform, but they would be in the same type of place of the devs, so they could work together and collaborate. But that's simply not the case. Now, it's important to say that I don't work for Scopley, so I don't know whether this is 100% accurate, but I do know from my 5 years worth of experience it's industry standard practice for mobile games and online browser-based games that whilst the devs and a certain member of the community management staff all work in the same office and actually physically work for the parent company, more often than not the moderators and the support guys are just ordinary players who volunteer their time, and they are not rewarded with money because they don't work for the company. They're often rewarded with in-game items such as resources and special perks. Now this would make sense because a lot of us have emailed support asking for resources back when various bugs, glitches and other things have happened, and they've told us that they can't do it. And of course we all think, oh my god, why are they not giving my stuff back? The answer is they can't. They physically don't have access to the software tools and our player accounts to add or remove resources, and on the rare occasions it has happened, it's because it has been passed to the development team who, for whatever reason, have decided that they're going to do that. But the ordinary support guys almost certainly don't have access to what you think they have access to, so when we scream at them, we're actually screaming at the wrong person. I certainly know from my days answering support tickets where people told me the same things. They said, I've lost resources because X and Y has happened and you're not giving me it back. Well, I'm sat at home in my boxer shorts answering your support ticket, physically can't do anything about it. All I can do is pass it up as a report, and if the development team then actually choose to do anything about it, that is up to them at that time. So that concludes today's video and my top 5 things that Scopley could improve to stop losing players. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, feel free to drop a like. If you're not subscribed and you like the type of content I make, smash that subscribe button and hit the bell so you can see every time I upload a video. But until then, I will see you in space.